Alrighty, so President Trump reacts to all of this, and I have to say, this was the best Trump ever. I mean, this is like this is grade A++ Trump. So yesterday morning, I wake up and I notice that President Trump has tweeted, and he hasn't tweeted for a couple of days, and I thought, oh, here we go. What had he tweeted? He tweeted, "Good morning, have a great day." That's what he tweeted. And the media lost their poop. They went totally crazy. And you're like, oh, what does this mean? Well, this means that he's a cruel, evil man. People will die. Cory Booker started running around screaming about how children were going to die. I mean, it was just great. And everybody's going crazy over him saying, "Good morning, have a great day." It was just, I mean, that is some high-level trollery. It's spectacular. Then, later in the day, he tweeted this out. He tweeted, "Make America great again." He tweeted that out. It was like 1 minute later. So, have a great day and make America great again. Everybody's like, the Krasenstein brothers, their heads are exploding. The pod bros, like, oh my God, this is the worst. He said, America's going to be great and also have a great day. Obviously, nefarious things are afoot. And then later in the day, after the Barr report drops, he writes, "No collusion, no obstruction, complete and total exoneration. Keep America great." Now, technically, he is correct, of course, about no collusion. On no obstruction, he is correct as well. Complete and total exoneration, not totally correct simply because the Mueller report didn't say that they would exonerate on obstruction, but it is very difficult to exonerate on obstruction in a case where the president has publicly talked about how much he hates an investigation. You know, you can't really exonerate on that basis, but you can say not enough material to charge, which is a difference in American law. So President Trump does all that, and then President Trump finally speaks to the press late yesterday afternoon, and he says, "You know what? I love America. This place, unbelievable.
I just want to tell you that America is the greatest place on earth. The greatest place on earth. Thank you very much."
And look, the dude's been put under the knife for 2 years on this nonsense. 2 years. And I know people in the Trump administration who were interviewed by the Mueller folks. I know people who had to lawyer up on the basis of this, who were put through long, long hearings on all of this, and it turned out to be nothing and stupidity for the most part. And not for the most part, just ultimately, just stupidity. Yes, they get to take a victory lap today. Now, Politico, it's just amazing. Politico responds to this with this headline. You ready? After the nearly 2-year investigation found no collusion or clear obstruction of justice, Trump and his aides showed little interest in healing or national unity. Really? So if I accuse you of being a traitor for 2 years, and then it turns out that you're not a traitor, the headline's going to be that you're mad about it? That's the headline? Really? Well, President Trump wasn't done. He said, listen, this is an illegal takedown that failed. Now, here's where we get into the question of what happens next. There's been some talk on the right about we should go after and prosecute people who are members of the FBI. Well, then we have to look at the criminal standards the same way we did for President Trump. Did they commit a crime? Was it a crime for the FBI to get out over its skis? Was it a crime for them to investigate without convicting people for not committing crimes? In other words, was an investigation that was founded on flimsy rumors, is that criminal in and of itself? Should people go to jail for that sort of thing? Or was it an investigation that was founded on rumors that had to be taken seriously, at least at the time, and then it sort of grew based on the stupidity and confirmation bias of people who didn't like President Trump? Is any of that criminal? And if it's not criminal, then maybe this speaks to what kind of power the intelligence agencies should have overall, because they are staffed with human beings. Confirmation bias, very dangerous drug, and that is particularly true when the government has enormous power. Here's President Trump, though, saying that the investigation was an illegal takedown that failed.
It was a complete and total exoneration. It's a shame that our country had to go through this. To be honest, it's a shame that your president has had to go through this before I even got elected. It began. And it began illegally. And hopefully somebody's going to look at the other side. This was an illegal takedown that failed.
Okay, so we will find out whether it was an illegal takedown that failed. Again, I think it's easy to jump the track here and suggest that what needs to happen now is an investigation into Fusion GPS, that maybe Fusion GPS should be prosecuted for leaking material to the FBI. It's the FBI's job to check out the material. If you make a police report, and that police report is based on evidence that is not put out there necessarily falsely, but is just rumor mongering, it is the police's report, it's the police's job to differentiate between false and truthfulness. The people who obviously blew this are the members of the FBI and the members of the media. Yeah, again, I think Oppo research being turned over to the FBI and the DOJ, I'm not sure that's quite the same thing. But again, I'd like to investigate the legal issues and take a look at that before I make a final conclusion. I will withhold judgment. Meanwhile, the leftist reaction to this is absolute disbelief. I mean, legitimate disbelief. They cannot believe. They thought for sure Robert Mueller was the second coming. He was going to descend from heaven, and he was going to tap President Trump on the shoulder, and President Trump was going to disappear as though Thanos had snapped his fingers. He's just going to turn into a bowl of ash. Well, that didn't happen, and the Democrats were having none of it. Here was Sheila Jackson Lee saying that she simply doesn't accept the findings. So, I mean, that's important because obviously we need Sheila Jackson Lee to accept the findings because nothing.
I mean, do you believe Robert Mueller when he writes that there was no collusion? I mean, do you accept that conclusion?
I think what I accept is that Robert Mueller did a very thorough job, and he has made the assessment that there was no collusion. Again, that is not a legal term, it's conspiracy, but his decision was based on a whole number of factors and investigations. And what I am saying is we in the Judiciary Committee want to review those documents.
Okay, so this is going to be the Democratic take is we don't believe Barr. Barr is now the obstacle. So Mueller probably said there was collusion, but Barr is the one who shut it down. Now, obviously that is untrue. Obviously, if Mueller felt that he was being big-footed here, he would say something about it. He did when BuzzFeed tried to do the same thing. But this is the new going theory. So the Democrats are now shifting the goalposts. The goalposts are now that it is not necessary that he was involved in collusion. Maybe it was obstruction. And also, we're not going to go with the findings of the Mueller report. Now we want to see the underlying material. So Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, he says the real question is he compromised? We know he's not. We just got the report, dude. But I guess they're still going to run with this nonsense.
We know, in addition to the fact that the Russians tried to meddle, they did meddle in our investigation. We know that his campaign manager, his deputy campaign manager, his lawyer, Papadopoulos, Stone, all of these people were having contact. And so the question for me that remains is, was he compromised? Why did he say that he believes Putin over the intelligence community? Why did he talk about leaving NATO, things that put our national security at jeopardy? Why doesn't he release his tax returns? Why were they so hell-bent on getting that Trump Tower in Moscow?
Okay, all of this conspiracy theory garbage is just that, conspiracy theory garbage. You want to know why President Trump said what he said about Vladimir Putin? Two things. He was offended by the entire Russian investigation, and also he likes anybody who compliments him. End of story. I've been saying that for legitimately years at this point. This is not a giant secret, but the media are not going to let go of this. The Democrats are not going to let go of this. They're going to suggest that now Mueller must have been compromised, or maybe they would have drawn a different conclusion if they saw the underlying materials. Here's Maxine Waters, who is just not a smart human being, suggesting on Joy Reid's show that it's not over. It's not over, guys. It's not over. I mean, she's basically doing the routine from Dreamgirls. I'm telling you, I'm not going. No. They're going to drag her away screaming. Here is Maxine Waters.
This is not the end of anything. This is it's the end of the report and the investigation by Mueller. But those of us who chair these committees have a responsibility to continue with our oversight because there's so much that needs to be, taken a look at this point. And so it's not the end of everything.
Oh, it's not the end of everything. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm glad you guys are going to keep doing this for the next couple of years because you lied to your base. That's the problem here. You guys went over your skis and you lied to your base. You said your base that he was going to leave. He was going to be impeached based on the Russian collusion stuff. They were out there worshiping Mueller. And it turns out that Mueller did not give them what they wanted, and now Mueller will be thrown in the garbage can. So the leftist reaction, again, has been that maybe there's a cover-up. My favorite, the best response came courtesy of James Comey. You'll recall that self-aggrandizing twerp Comey, the former head of the FBI, who was just incompetent at his job in every possible way. And then President Trump fired him. And then he suggested without evidence that President Trump was somehow basically responsible for Russian collusion. He took a picture of himself, I kid you not, in the woods. He went to the woods and took a picture of himself, I guess on the moon of Endor, and just staring up into the trees with the caption, "So many questions." Yeah, you know what? We do have some questions. James, we do have some questions, like why was this investigation initiated in the first place? Was it done so on a solid basis? Was it continued on the basis of new additional evidence that was corroborating? Or was this whole thing basically just a bunch of people who didn't like Trump who decided that they were going to continue an investigation into a nonsense charge from the very beginning? Is that really what was going on here? And we'll find all of that out. We'll find out whether it's criminal. There are going to be questions asked about this, as well there should be. There should be questions asked about this. Are there criminal charges? As I say, I don't know. I'll withhold evidence on that. But come on, come on. The leftist reaction has been utter hysteria. Joy Reid on MSNBC, she said, well, you know what? Maybe it's a cover-up. Maybe it's a cover-up. Maybe Barr is just covering it up.
The fact that this investigation takes place within the Justice Department, which Donald Trump essentially controls, and that he got rid of the problem, Jeff Sessions, who the one decent thing that he did was just recuse himself. This guy is not recused. It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here.
Oh, well, without any, more speculation will probably fix it, media. Keep going with this. More rampant, stupid speculation will probably shore up your reputations now that they are in absolute flames. You doused yourself in gasoline and lit a match. That's what you did. My favorite are the tweets from the people in Hollywood who, again, know nothing about politics and so are more hysterical than anyone. These are the people in the Jim Jones media cult who are legitimately drinking the Kool-Aid. People like Bette Midler, who tweeted this out. Mueller's report finds no evidence showing Trump's team collusion with Russia, but stops short of exonerating Trump on obstruction of justice. Knowing Trump, he probably tried to do exactly that. 2 more years of chaos, race baiting, grifters, con artists, shame and fear. Sad. Knowing Trump, he probably tried to do exactly that. Really? Do you know Trump? Or were you saying for years that he colluded with the Russians? How about Rob Reiner, whose last good movie was Princess Bride? The fight for our democracy is about to intensify. The GOP cult is lining up behind a criminal autocrat. Is there any where's the criminality here? Have you shown some proof yet? That'd be good. How about some of that? You got John Cryer from 2.5 Men, who is tweeting out, this is why Trump appointed Barr, because to cover it. And then there's George Takei. Oh my. If William Barr summarized Romeo and Juliet, he'd probably say that Romeo murdered Juliet's cousin, was banished for it, and is now dead. Let's wait to hear the full story. Yeah, it's probably that Barr is just blowing the findings, even though he's going to release the vast majority of this stuff. The best reaction, though, was reserved for media watchdog Brian Stelter over at CNN. Now, I've been on Brian's show. Seems like a nice guy, but this is crazy stuff. Here's Brian Stelter suggesting, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have done so much speculation, but speculation has value too, guys. It really does.
There is a big difference. There is a big difference between news and opinion. And I realize it can be hard to tune out all the noise and just tune into the news these days. But if I had to pick speculation or solid reporting, I would pick solid reporting in a second. I bet you would too. Reporting is what adds the most value. Finding out something new, putting out new information into the world is the best feeling in journalism. It's the greatest value add. That's what hundreds of journalists have been doing, trying to solve pieces of this Trump-Russia puzzle. But here's the thing, speculation actually has value too. It helps open our eyes, helps open our minds to what's possible.
Okay, so speculation helps us. That's what it is. It's just mind expanding, guys. That's all we were trying to do was expand minds. When we were on Chyrons for 2 years about how Trump was lying about Russian collusion, and then in parentheses, Trump would say, no collusion, in parentheses, hasn't been proved. Now I'd like to see CNN run a Chiron that says, CNN for 2 years ran with collusion. It never happened, in parentheses. Man, they humiliated themselves, and they deserve every bit of the blowback they are going to get from the American public and from other members of the media and from it's just, what a botched job. What a botched job for 2 years. Full craziness. Okay, time for